ladies and gentlemen, friends and loved ones, welcome to the Loot Train. My name is Hadley, and today we are talking about my first impressions, 10 hours in, of Destiny 2. If you are new to this channel, on my impression series we go over my impressions of various loot-based shooters at intervals throughout my playthrough, 10 hours, 25 hours, and so on. And today, like stated earlier, we will be talking about my impressions 10 hours in, Destiny 2 PC version. So first and foremost, let's get into the pros. What do I like about Destiny 2 so far? Right away, I have to give a shout out to the gun mechanics and the overall gameplay. Anyone who's played Destiny before knows that the gunplay was a big draw to the original Destiny, and it's not surprising due to Bungie's history with their development of the Halo games, where the gunplay is also tight, and it's just a very satisfying experience. All the hit markers feel like you're actually hitting the enemy in a substantial way, and the damage that pops out of the enemy when you hit them is also a nice touch. I know they're not the only game to have that, but I personally enjoy it. Everything is just really, really tight. You can tell that they spent a lot of time making sure that the gameplay was crisp and felt like a AAA title. Next up, and this is a fantastic improvement, you're actually about to see one go down here, is the improvements to public events. So if you didn't play Destiny 1, public events worked essentially in the same way that they do now. The randomized events that happen, little mini missions that give you a reward at the end. Anyone who's in the area can join you. But the problem in Destiny 1 was that there was no rhyme or reason to when they spawned, so you'd have to go to these nonsense third-party websites that really were complete bullshit in terms of when the public events would start. I remember my fire team and I would log on a third-party website and sit in the area where the public event was supposed to start, and nothing would happen, even though the website said it was supposed to. Incredibly frustrating. So the way they changed it in this one is you just simply look at the map, it'll tell you when the public event is going to start, where it's going to start, and how long until it starts. It's way more rewarding. You can actually get there, participate in the event, claim a reward, and move on. No fuss, no muss. Big, big improvement, and I'm very happy to see that. Next up is the graphics. This game looks fucking fantastic. The PC port is amazing. You get that shit running in 1440p, 120 frames per second, and it's one of the best looking games I've played on PC in a very, very long time. It's incredibly optimized. I'm having no issues running things at the highest settings so far. I know some people probably won't get that type of performance out of their machines, but this game just looks absolutely incredible. The environment and level design is amazing. Again, it's not too surprising because this is Bungie, and their level design in Halo was again top notch. So this is par for the course for Bungie, but it is a feast for the eyes 100% of the time. Finally is the improvements to the storytelling. One of the most fucking frustrating parts of Destiny 1 was the Grimoire cards. Instead of telling the story in a narratively coherent way, Bungie decided, for who knows what reasons, there's rumors that there is chaos in the studios near the end of production.
We all know what needs to be done.
Instead of telling a story in a narratively coherent way, they made you collect these goddamn cards that you have to then read in your app on your phone to actually understand the lore and understand the story that was happening. It was dumb. It was fucking stupid. So instead, this time, and you can see the cutscene going on in the background here, they actually gave you an actual single-player story. Now, you can play with your friends, but it's a story. It's an actual story in a game, and it's well told because Bungie does have a history of telling good stories. Again, I refer to the Halo franchise, and the cutscenes are amazing. I'm actually invested in the story this time around, whereas I couldn't tell you a single goddamn thing that I did in Destiny 1 story-wise. So good for you, Bungie. You killed it on the story. I look forward to the cutscenes, especially anything to do with the Traveler. I'm not going to give no spoilers here, but to me, it's well worth the playthrough.
You need to get your...
Alright, let's get into the bad parts now. Destiny is by far not a perfect game. There is a lot of issues that I hope will be resolved in the future, so let's jump into them right now. Here are the cons of Destiny 2, so far 10 hours in. Let's talk about matchmaking, specifically in the Crucible. So, one of the big changes from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2 is that they reduced the fireteam size in Crucible from 6 to 4, which there's pros and cons to that. To me, that's a negative. I don't understand why you have raids at a 6-man team and the Crucible at a 4-man team. It really makes it awkward when you go from raid to Crucible. And you gotta kick out the two people that you like the least in your party. But that's an entirely different problem. The matchmaking in the Crucible so far has been pretty horrific. I have been queuing solo so far in just the casual playlist, and almost every single time, without fail, I have queued up against a complete 4-stack. Now, I understand that it's casual, but a 4-stack in a game like Destiny 2, where communication is essentially the crux of how you can actually win the game, to put a 4-stack against a solo player, or a group of solo players, is just not a good design decision at all. And there's no way the player base is low enough that they can't find other people who are in solo queue. So I'm not entirely sure what the deal with that is. I'm hoping that they fix it soon, because the Crucible gameplay itself is pretty fun, but getting your ass handed to you by a 4-stack when you're trying to solo queue just for some engrams is not the way I want to spend my time. Next up, let's talk about the apparent lack of an endgame in Destiny 2. So the game came out a month or so earlier for consoles, and immediately there was complaints on the forums and the subreddits that the game had no endgame, that there's no point in playing the game after you leveled up your characters, and I can't say that I disagree so far. So I've already reached level 20, I'm already light level about 210, I believe, at this time. And I'm already starting to see rumors, or I shouldn't say rumors, I'm already starting to see evidence that the endgame is going to be a little bit disappointing, to say the least. So it doesn't take long to level up at all. Like I said, I'm about 10 hours in, I've already got one character essentially maxed out. I've talked to some friends of mine who are up there, and apparently there is a drop-off in the leveling for light at around 260, 270-ish. It takes a little bit longer to get to that 305 at the end, which I guess is okay. But I've also heard that there isn't any specific loot for raids, or that if there is, it's not entirely unique. You know, in Destiny 1, people would go through the raids to try to get a specific gun, Galahorn, or whatever the case may be, and they would fight for that, and that was part of the reason you went in there, was to get that RNG drop, and it was actually a great fucking feeling when you got the gun that you've been trying to get for ages. It was a grind, and I know some people don't like grinds, but the core audience of Destiny, I think, is the people who do like the grinds. So it seems odd that they would not reward those players. The raid has not come out for the PC yet. It comes out early next week as of the time of this recording. I just unlocked strikes, and there is no strike-specific loot or Nightfall strike-specific loot. So it seems like everything that you could unlock, you can get just through normal play. And I know that Bungie has said that they didn't want the game to become a part-time job, but I think they swung too far in the other direction. But maybe that will change later on. I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to wait and see. So far, I'm not that concerned about it. Once I'm done this character, I'm going to level up the next two, and by that time, the next expansion should be out. But if the rumors are true and it doesn't take that long to get to that 305, it's going to be a little bit disappointing. Finally, let's talk about everybody's favorite new gaming convention, and that is microtransactions. Destiny, because it's produced by Activision, is the latest victim of the microtransactions. They added in the Eververse store at the end of Destiny 1, long after I had stopped playing the game, and it is essentially a store to spend real money on cosmetic items in the game. Destiny 2 is no different. There is cosmetic items in the game that you can pay real money for. As far as I can tell, you can also unlock those after you've reached level 20 via Bright Engrams. I'm not sure if the overlap between the two tables of loot is the exact same. I don't know if there's anything that's specifically locked behind a paywall. But the most infuriating change to me is the shaders. The whole point of Destiny is to make your character look as wickedly badass as possible, and shaders are the primary way of doing that. You can have armor that looks awesome, but if it's gray and brown and you know, shitty colored, it's not going to look cool. So the way to make that awesome is through the shaders. And in Destiny 1, a shader was a permanent item that you could apply as many times as you want to your entire armor set, and it made it look fucking cool. Instead, in Destiny 2, they've made shaders a microtransaction consumable item that you have to apply individually to each armor piece. I want you to think about that for a second. Instead of being a permanent item that you can apply to your entire armor set all at the same time as many times as you want, it's now something that you can buy. You can unlock it in the game, but it is a consumable, so you can buy it and you have 5-10 uses of it per armor piece. So you have to use 1 on your chest armor, 1 on your gloves, 1 on your helmet, so on and so forth. This is so dumb, and it's purely Activision greed. There's no way I buy for a second that anyone at Bungie actually greenlit this. This had to have come from the top. I'm really hoping they change that because it's just unnecessary. The game is already fully priced at close to $80 Canadian. Plus, if you get the expansion pass, you're dropping $40 on that or $30 per expansion pass if you don't do that. And then they try to nickel and dime one of the best parts of the game via the shaders. It just seems like an unacceptable design choice on my end. Are they going to change it? Probably not. Activision is known for the shitty business practices, so I'm not too surprised that this is a thing. Luckily, you can unlock some of them in the game, but like I said, they are consumable items, so it's not the same as it was. Unacceptable. Brutal, brutal, brutal. Sad, as a certain president would say. So that's it. Those are the cons for the game. So overall, I think Destiny 2 is a bit of a mixed bag. I'm definitely enjoying myself when I'm playing. When I'm at work and not playing over the last 3 days, I've been thinking about getting home to play it again. But there's some sort of lingering thing in the back of my mind that's making me doubt the future of the game. Part of that is the microtransactions. Part of that is the fact that they've taken away the best parts of the looting experience, in my opinion. And part of that is just the general malaise that seems to have fallen over the community since the debut of the game. The people who are most hardcore into the game seem to be the ones that are complaining the most. Again, the vocal minority is always going to be the loudest, so I'm not that surprised about it. But Destiny 2, to me, is a multiplayer experience that needs to be enjoyed with a group of friends. And if the game is driving away core players and you're stuck playing it by yourself, it's not going to be the true Destiny experience. So I'm hoping that some of the things I addressed in the con section are going to be addressed by Bungie in the future. They've been pretty silent about the shaders thing so far. I doubt we're going to see any improvements to matchmaking anytime in the future, because it seems like that the core focus, at least from Activision's perspective, and Bungie takes their marching orders from Activision, is to make money. And they do that via expansions, and they do that via microtransactions. Overall, I would say that the game is worth a purchase, especially if you're into this type of game. This is kind of the sort of crown jewel of the loot shooter experience. You're not going to find a game with tighter gameplay than Destiny, at least in my opinion. And that's it for today. So if you like what I do here, you can feel free to leave a like on the video or subscribe to get more updates on loot-based shooters. Weekly videos come out every single Friday. And until then, I will see you next time. I love you guys. Bye-bye!